When I first moved into that old house in Washington, it felt peaceful. It was the kind of quiet that city people dream about. Surrounded by pine trees, an old gravel driveway, no neighbors in sight. I was alone, and that was exactly the point. I had just gotten out of a long, messy breakup. I needed space, solitude, time to breathe, and for the first few weeks, it was perfect. Until little things started happening. At first, I thought I was just forgetful, a spoon out of place. The bathroom light on when I was sure I'd turned it off. I'd come home and feel like the air in the house had changed, like someone had just been there, just left the room. But I told myself it was nothing, just stress. Then came the noises. At night, I'd be lying in bed, scrolling through my phone with the lights off when I'd hear it. A soft creaking sound above me. Not pipes, not wind. Footsteps. I froze the first time I heard them. They were light, but deliberate. 5 or 6 steps. Then, silence. I remember lying there in the dark, trying not to breathe too loud. Trying to convince myself it was the house settling. Or maybe raccoons. But it kept happening. Every night. Around the same time. 1:15 a.m. One night I stayed completely still, waiting for the sound. And right on schedule, there it was. Creak, creak, pause, creak. I got out of bed, grabbed a kitchen knife, and pulled down the attic ladder. The cold air that rushed out smelled old, like dust and sweat and something rotten. I climbed halfway up and shined my flashlight around. That's when I saw it. In the corner, tucked behind the insulation, was a makeshift bed. A stained old mattress, crumpled snack wrappers, bottles of water, a tattered blanket, and something even worse, a notebook. It was open, pages filled with scribbles, drawings of me, the house, notes about what time I leave, what time I sleep, what I eat. He had been watching me, listening, living above me. I scrambled down, locked myself in the bedroom, and called 911. I could barely speak. My hands were shaking so hard, I dropped the phone twice before I hit call. The police searched the attic and the rest of the house, but he was gone. Just vanished. They think he had slipped in weeks ago, maybe even before I moved in. Through the unlocked basement door. They found signs he'd been crawling through the walls, using the air vents to hear where I was. But here's the part that still wakes me up at night. In the attic dust, they found footprints, leading from his bed to the air vent above my bedroom, the one directly over my pillow. They said he had unscrewed the vent cover, so he could watch me sleep. He had been inches away from me every single night, just listening, breathing, waiting. I moved out the same day, but the fear didn't move out with me. Now, even in broad daylight, I still find myself glancing at ceilings, listening for creaks, wondering if someone, somewhere, has found another attic to hide in.
I lived alone in a 1-bedroom apartment in downtown Memphis. It wasn't fancy. The walls were thin. The windows rattled when trucks passed outside, but I liked it. I had my routine. I'd get home from work around 4:30 p.m., drop my bag, kick off my shoes, heat up leftovers, watch a little TV. Then I'd clean up, change clothes, and hang my laundry in the big walk-in closet just off the bedroom. It was predictable, safe, until the day it wasn't. That afternoon was like any other, sunny, quiet. I pulled into my usual parking spot, walked up the 2 flights of stairs. I remember thinking how warm the air felt, how quiet the building was, too quiet in hindsight. I unlocked my door and stepped inside. Click. I shut it behind me the way I always do, loud and automatic. I remember that moment so clearly because the sound of that door slamming echoed through the apartment harder than usual. I didn't think anything of it. I tossed my keys, wallet, and phone on the kitchen counter and walked into the bedroom. That's when I noticed something odd. The closet door, which I always kept closed, was open just a few inches. Not wide, but not how I left it. I paused. Something in my body locked up. It's like my brain hadn't caught up yet, but my gut already knew something was wrong. Still, I pushed the feeling away. I walked into the closet and started hanging up clothes. Behind me, the apartment felt still, too still. No outside noise, no creaks, no AC hum, just silence. Then I called out to my husband, even though he wasn't supposed to be home yet. I said his name softly, no answer. Then I said it louder, still nothing. I walked back into the living room, and that's when I saw him. A man, standing on the other side of the kitchen island. He wasn't startled. He didn't yell, he didn't run, he just looked at me. His face was calm, his eyes empty, like he was standing in his own kitchen. He wore old jeans and work boots. His coat was too big, like it was meant to hide something underneath. Without saying a word, he reached down and picked up my phone, then my wallet, then my keys, and began sliding them into his pockets, like he was collecting souvenirs. That's when my body moved. I turned and walked quickly, not too fast, toward the bedroom. I didn't want to spook him, didn't want him to follow. I locked the bathroom door behind me. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the lock the first time. Inside the bathroom, I stood completely still. I could hear him moving, one slow step at a time, and then nothing. I pressed my ear against the door, still silence, and that was worse than footsteps. I picked up my phone, or tried to, but it wasn't there. He had it. So I turned to the backup plan, the laptop in my bedroom. I crept out, managed to crawl across the floor, heart pounding in my ears, and called 911. I whispered everything. The police came, searched the entire building, but he was gone. No forced entry, no broken locks, no open windows. They think he slipped in behind someone at the main door, maybe even behind me. Just blended in, waited for me to come home. But here's the thing, nothing was stolen. Not my TV, not my jewelry, not even the cash in my drawer. He only took my keys, my wallet, my phone, my name, my location, my information. He didn't want money. He wanted me. I moved out 3 days later. I still don't know how long he was in there. But every time I hear a door creak or keys jingle outside my apartment now, I wonder if it's him, back to finish what he started.
I've always loved hiking alone. There's something honest about being in the woods. No phones ringing, no people talking, no pressure to speak or smile. Just you, the wind, the trees. I used to think the silence was peaceful, until the night I learned it can be something else entirely. It was October, late in the season. Fewer people on the trails, colder air, shorter daylight. I had just started my usual loop in a national forest I'd been to dozens of times. It was familiar, or so I thought. I started late. That was my first mistake. I knew I was cutting it close, but I figured I'd beat sunset. The trail wasn't long, maybe a couple hours. The first mile was uneventful. Just the crunch of leaves under my boots, birds calling in the distance, the occasional squirrel darting across the path. But somewhere around mile 2, the forest changed. Not visually, the trees were the same, the ground dry. But something felt different. The sound changed, the wind stopped. No birds, no bugs, just silence. If you've ever been in true silence, not city silence, not headphones on silence, but deep wood silence, you know what I mean. It's the kind of quiet that gets under your skin. like the world is holding its breath. That's when I first heard the footsteps. Light, deliberate. A few paces behind me, then nothing. I turned. The trail was empty. I kept walking. Then it happened again. Crunch, 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 stop. My throat went dry. I told myself it was an echo, maybe an animal, but the steps were too precise, too human. I quickened my pace, and the footsteps did too. I stopped. So did they. I turned around fast. Nothing but trees. But this time I noticed something. Something subtle. A figure. Tall. Lean. Standing behind a tree, maybe 30 feet off the trail. Just enough behind it that I couldn't see a face. Just a shoulder. Maybe a knee. Like it was peeking. I stared. It didn't move. I called out, "Hey, you okay?" Nothing. I felt the air get colder. Then it stepped out. Not fast, not aggressive. Just one slow step. That's when I saw the eyes. Not glowing red, not cartoon bright, just wrong. Reflective. Pale white, like how a cat's eyes shine in headlights. But taller than any animal. Taller than me. And still, no face. I ran. Not a jog, not a controlled hike. I ran. Branches scratched my arms, rocks twisted under my feet, but I didn't stop. Behind me, I heard it. Running too, fast, heavy, silent in between, like it was waiting for me to slow down. At one point, I tripped, hit the ground hard. I turned around to see if it was close. Nothing. But the silence was back. Worse now, oppressive, like something pressing on my chest. I got up, limped the rest of the way until I reached the parking lot. Completely empty. My car was the only one there. I got inside and locked the doors, sat in silence for 5 minutes, just listening, watching the tree line. I saw movement, but not fast, not close. Just a tall shadow standing between the trees, watching. It didn't chase me. It didn't move again. It just stood there, like it knew I saw it. And that was enough. I never reported it. What would I even say? Something followed me. It wasn't human. It had glowing eyes and no face. They'd laugh, but I know what I saw. And I haven't hiked alone since. Because that feeling, the silence, the gaze, the knowing you're not supposed to be there, it stays with you. And now, when I lie in bed at night and hear nothing, I wonder if it followed me back.